Good evening once again and welcome to the Ghana Diaspora Discussion Forum. This is a platform for Ghanaians in diaspora, and we aim to give a voice to the people, Ghanaians in the diaspora, to amplify their views and their voices, and a platform for them to engage in issues that relate to Ghana. This evening, we're looking at the whole idea of Ghanaians in the diaspora, their contributions, the potential they have to contribute to national development, whether their talents are being used and maximized, so to speak. And joining us this evening, we've got two gentlemen who I believe are some of the best to speak to some of the issues we're going to be raising today. Firstly, from the seat of the presidency, we've got Mr. Akwasi Awua-Ababio. He is the head of the Ghana Diaspora. I'm sure he'll tell us better the designation, but from the seat of the presidency, and that tells you how important this is to the government. But he has the government's operation in relation to the Ghanaians in the diaspora, getting them on board and engaging with them. Also on the program this evening, we've got Mr. Kweku Adams. Mr. Kweku Adams is an academic, a senior lecturer in the United Kingdom. He is also the convener, one of the organizers of the Ghana Scholarly Society. It is a group of Ghanaian academics based overseas who are aiming to amplify their contributions to Ghana's development. And he would also be telling us a bit more about that. We've got some members of our regular panel, Professor Fred Yamwa. He's having issues at the moment with his son. Hopefully it will be sorted in a moment. We've got Michael Emmanuel who will be joining us, and as well as anybody else joining us this evening, there will be opportunities to ask questions and then to interact with our guests. So first of all, a big welcome to Mr. Ababio, who's been traveling from Ghana, and we understand because he just got in today. He is very tired and we are grateful that he honored our invitation. Thank you very much, Mr. Ababio, and you're welcome again onto the program.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's a pleasure to be with you and everyone who is also on this program. Yes, even though I've only arrived in today, I only thought it was very important that I show up to, contribute my minimum, if anything at all. So it's a pleasure having me here. And I'm glad that you have this platform to enable people in the diaspora to deliberate over issues that most concerns them, and to also give people like me the opportunity to come in and explain or throw more light on one or two issues that may need that clarification here and there. So it's an opportunity that I was never going to miss, and I'm glad you have provided this platform. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are very grateful. We will structure the evening like this. So we will focus the first hour mainly on Mr. Ababio and his office's work and how they can get all Ghanaians in the diaspora on board in terms of the developmental efforts, the ongoing developmental efforts. We will have the opportunity to listen to Dr. Kweku Adams, but we will talk to Dr. Kweku Adams more in the second hour of the program, where he would be staying through out till the end. He would have the opportunity also to interact with Mr. Ababio. I'm sure that he would have issues that he would want to talk to him directly about. So Dr. Kweku Adams, once again, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Great. So first of all, before we get started, Mr. Ababio, I understand that your office is organizing the Ghana Investment Meeting 2021. What is this about, please? Hopefully you can throw some more light on that for us.
I think right away, let me clarify that the Ghana Diaspora Investment Forum that is being organized here is being organized by GIPC in partnership with the Ghana High Commission and the Ghana Chamber of Commerce. But because it is about the diaspora, we also felt it was important that we also throw our weight behind it and then participate to enable us to clarify one or two things that may need clarification and support and, facilitation here and there. So that is why I have arrived in this country to enable us to, have this forum, investment forum. But yes, it is a collaborative thing, teamwork that we have with the Ghana Investment Center, who has also got diaspora desks in their units, which has some coordinating role that it plays within the units itself. But the Diaspora Affairs Office of the President is the overall body or team office that coordinates, that sits at the table of government and basically facilitates the implementation of the diaspora engagement policy.
Right, that's great. So in terms of your collaboration with the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, what are you aiming to achieve? Are you aiming from your side, from where you sit, to have more Ghanaians who live in the diaspora getting the interest, or to enable those who are interested to invest in Ghana as it is?
I think it's, one would know from historical events and in the past what Ghanaians in the diaspora have contributed towards our investment in Ghana. It goes way, way back, when even as far back as when Tete Kwashi was, found this cocoa in Fenadopo, and he had to come to Ghana, and thereafter the industry for the cocoa industry began. So because of what we know there are in terms of capabilities of the diaspora, we have always felt it was necessary, even all throughout, with our previous government, we have always had the need to court the partnership, the complementary role that the diaspora can play in the development efforts of our country. So this initiative of us coming all over here to really discuss how best, and to also, point out the opportunities and the areas where investment is most needed, and to look to take advantage of the diaspora community and their network and their access to funds and their access to, expertise and everything that they're capable of bringing to the table is very necessary. And that is why we have come here to, have that discussion with the diaspora to make sure that they can also be aware of the initiative, government initiative. They can also, be told the things that are of priority for us and where help is most needed and where they should be coming to help in our development. I'm losing you. I can't hear you now.
My apologies. Following up to your last point about the investment meeting, let's talk about your office itself. I believe that it tells volumes that it is seated right at the presidency, that to a large extent, this is critical to the government as a whole. What are you set up for? What is your mission? What is your vision, please?
Okay, I think the office is essentially there to make sure that the diaspora representation is at the highest table of governance. So even though there had previously been various initiatives at courting the diaspora to be part of our process of building the country, some of these efforts have been rather low-key. And so during the time when this current government was campaigning actively to be in power, one of their key manifesto pledges was that they were going to make sure that the diaspora was brought into the picture more and more, and that we would make sure that we took advantage of the variety of expertise and of the opportunities that abound in the diaspora for people in the diaspora to bring to bear. So, as a key manifesto pledge of the diaspora being where it should be, we decided right from the president decided right from his first term that this office should be there, right at the presidency. Bearing in mind that there was previously the Diaspora Affairs Bureau at the Foreign Affairs, and that was also executing or doing basically what we have been doing. There was therefore the need for this office at the presidency to coordinate, to liaise with that unit at the Foreign Office to enable us to effectively pursue that diaspora engagement policy. Even though unofficially we don't have a policy, there is indeed in every aspect a policy that is being pursued by this government, and that is manifesting itself in several ways. As for instance, in the homecoming that is done on 2-yearly basis since we've been in power, and then as in other diaspora and investment forums that we have been doing, as in the year of return, and now as a continuation of the Beyond the Return, which is a 10-year program. So these programs are manifestation of what the government has prioritized in terms of the diaspora involvement, and the need to have the office of the president to coordinate, to make sure that this is all being done from one organization that is directing the various or helping in the coordination and the facilitation of the diaspora engagement. So that's where we sit right now at the table at the Office of the Presidency to make sure that the president can have our ears as quickly as possible whenever he needs that, and to be able to look at formulating the diaspora engagement policy and its implementation.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I will come back to you hopefully with some follow-up questions, because I was keen to know from what you said, how you assess the success. I mean, this is more like asking you to set and mark your own exam, but I think it will be worth knowing from your experience how you think this is going. But let us get Dr. Kweku Adams on board now. Dr. Kweku Adams, you are involved in this group. Tell us briefly. I believe that in the second hour, we'll have more time to hear more about what you're planning to do, especially vis-a-vis your impact on Ghana. But briefly tell us what your society is about.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes, please, we can.
Okay. Well, I was at the University of Calgary in Canada for 3 years, and I had a professor friend at Francis Xavier University. So he decided to go back to the Ministry of Finance to support. I think it was during President Mills' time. He was there he took 5 years sabbatical leave, and within 6 months, he was so frustrated, he left. He went back. Another colleague at the University of Calgary tried it, and then he basically got frustrated within 8 months and went back. So, but when I came back to the UK, because I did my PhD here in the UK, I thought, as individuals, there is so much you as an individual can do. I mean, Helen Keller actually said that as one person, you can do so little, but as a group, there is so much that we can do. So I thought, and I mean, I've taught in various universities, different countries, and I meet really intelligent Ghanaians. I mean, you can see the profiles of people who are really, really doing amazing things. But it's just one person doing so much, So I thought that if we bring all of these skills, these expertise together, and we try to organize ourselves, and we put ourselves in cognate areas, let's say those with expertise in business management, expertise in sciences, expertise in technology, if we bring all these ideas together and we create a website where our profiles will be uploaded, we will see. And then we can share these ideas and knowledge with government ministries in Ghana, with anyone that wants our expertise. When you watch BBC, anytime anything happens, you can be guaranteed there will be one expert to speak about something. But in news in Ghana, it's always almost all the time politicized, you know. So that's the main direction that we're trying to go, that with just one person, there's so much you can do. But if we put ourselves together, and we started, this is just July, we started and we are 83 members, we've got 83 membership already. And so you can see there's the interest is there, and we are working on putting up our website, registering as a serious organization in the UK, and probably going overseas and expanding our reach. And I think the basis is this, that for everything that works, there must be a science behind it. There is a science behind running a successful business. So there is science behind road construction, you know, but for us as Ghanaians or in Ghana, we don't see that science working for us. It's always political ideology that runs everything. So just to cut the long story short, what we intend to do is basically put ourselves together and provide expertise, the science behind what Ghana should do to progress to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kweku Adams. That sounds brilliant. Mr. Awababio, that must sound like music in your ears. Do you see any mileage, any potential in a group like this, academics abroad who are organizing to make themselves available, put themselves available at the service of the nation, please?
I think right away, I would commend this team and this direction that they are charted. I think it's a very good initiative, something that should be applauded, that should be supported, that should be facilitated. And that is what we sit at the office of the presidency to do. Basically, I'm glad that at least I'm on this forum tonight and I get to know about this. But previous to this, I would have preferred that such an organization would, even if they didn't know about us, would have, tried to get in touch with us, to register with us, for us to also equally, I believe this opportunity is going to serve the same purpose anyway, to enable us to know about them, to know about their objectives, to know how that we can also feed into whatever they want to do, and they can feed into whatever we are also trying to do. So it's a nice opportunity, and I seriously, encourage them, kudos on their back for charting this path. And I believe that is exactly what we require of the people that are organized and are professionals and have the expertise to be doing, to enable us to also, tap into it. I suppose this exactly is something that I could say similarly, the physicians and the doctors, the Ghana Physicians and Surgeons Association of US, which is basically, a group of those working in the medical fields are trying to do, or they have been doing for some time, had the benefit of attending a conference that they organized in California some, 4 years ago. And basically, we learned so much, and we were quite happy with so many of the initiatives that they are undertaking. Apart from making their expertise known, they also had a platform that was encouraging their counterparts in Ghana to work with them collaboratively to, see where they can help here and there. So this similarly, I believe, is one of the initiatives that can be linked to some existing organizations and associations already, including this office itself, to enable us to harness that potential that there is out there. So yes, I seriously want to pat them on the shoulder to say, yes, they should carry on, that we want to work with them, we want to know more about what they do, and that the expertise that they have is something that is of interest, that something that's long overdue as a database of all the expertise and the skill sets outside that should be compiled, and that's, we are keen to encourage in every way possible. So I'm happy this initiative is coming. And I guess one of the concerns that the gentleman has was in respect of how, the politics come into some of these implementations and realizations from time to time. And I guess, that is duly taken note of, and that is something that one is constantly working on to see how best it can be, minimized, or it can be sort of dealt with going forward. But essentially, one has to know that as governments, they represent the whole country, but are brought into power by some sections of the people who may be a majority as at that time. And that constantly, those lobbying groups, just like every other people, would also, want to have their way, and therefore, invariably, you get them being noticeably, favored here and there. Therefore, it gives the impression that that's all that there is. But I suppose it's all as a result of various lobbying groups and playing their part and effectively asking for what they require. And I would urge this organization, irrespective of the difficulties, irrespective of the issues that confront them, to be steadfast and to be also, pursue their agenda vigorously. And some of us have got attentive ears to really make sure that we can encourage them to move forward as required.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That must also be music to Dr. Kweku Adams' ears. I know that he and his team are very zealous and steadfast with this, and when needs be, they will do the necessary follow-ups. I think that it's useful that we've had this introduction of ourselves. So hopefully the necessary follow-ups would come. Professor Awua, before you come in with any questions, Dr. Adams talked about frustrations from people who try to go back home. I think you've got some lived experience here. You went to work at some point in Ghana. Is that something you saw trying to return from the UK to Ghana? Did you experience that at all? Or do other people you know experience anything like that?
Right. I thought Mr. Awabio would be in the best position to take this because he was also here. Anyway, let me attempt that. I mean, I went into an organization that, as you know, it's an organized sort of organization. I didn't go work in the corporate world per se. That was university, KNUST. So, I mean, when you talk about frustration, sure, you will meet some of these frustrations, but I think those who go into the corporate world where they have to provide customer service, they have to deal with people on everyday basis, I think they register that bigger sort of frustration. Mine was, why should I be carrying a key around? They say that's a key for the staff toilet. And I said, look, I've got small pocket. Why should I be carrying a key? Kabi is laughing, but it was straight to me. I mean, we sit in a big hall. I sit in the middle of the student, and they are passing a bottle of water all the way to me. And I said, why not the student? They say, no, this is for lecturers. So I began to fight. They asked me to teach entrepreneurship in a chemistry lab. I said, I mean, it doesn't befit the course. And I said, oh, that's how it's been done. All this while, I have 200 students, 100 of them, their backs are facing me. So really, I had to go to a conference, and they told me that, look, there is a body, once your paper is accepted, yes, we'll pay for you to go. The long and short of it all is that 2 days before the conference, I was in the Vice Chancellor's office, and I was told that foot the bill, and when you come back, we'll try to pay for you. But we have somebody that sells tickets to us, so go to that person for your ticket. All said and done, I think that when I went back to KNUST, that was August 2019. I mean, I went to introduce the BS in agribusiness at KNUST. I mean, it's run very well. What I'm not happy with is the fact that they took away the placement component because they felt that, one, that would limit the number of students that can come on the program and the logistics in terms of managing. But I'm not happy because that doesn't situate it any different from the mainstream BSc agricultural science related courses where people do BSc in agric. They come out and they are looking for work in a bank or in other corporate settings. There's nothing like having had a hands-on experience that they can employ themselves through agricultural science. I thought the agribusiness should have been different. So all in all, I mean, I've got good links. They are nice people. And I must say that people are ready to also learn from us. I went back and one professor said, you, when you were here, you were so troublesome, but we're happy to have you back.
Why did they say you were troublesome? Was it because you were too westernized, too British, insisting on things done in a certain way?
Now, I think the key, the cardinal issue is how we relate to students when it comes to university system. I mean, I think it's about how we relate to students.
This, I think, is where the problem is. You've become too westernized. I mean, in the West, Dr. Kweku Adams will tell you, you and your supervisor are on first name terms, but in Ghana, it is a professor, it is a doctor. So you with your Western ideas, maybe, I mean, you were going to break protocol in some stages. Is that the problem?
Yes, I mean, for example, sometimes it comes as a shock as well, because I'm working with a student I'm supervising. Let's pop in here for a cup of tea. We go to the common room, and they say that student cannot sit here to eat. So you go there, you the staff, you can sit there. I mean, this is an open space where, so you begin to say, okay, should we continue? So maybe, like you say, westernized, but it's difficult to unlearn some of these things as well. Yeah.
But let me post this to Mr. Awababio before anybody else comes in with other questions. Mr. Awababio, like Fred said, you've also got lots of experience living abroad before you went back to Ghana. Dr. Adams mentioned the issue of frustration, which is what I picked up with Fred. Why do you think do so many people who try to go get frustrated and come back? Are they looking for something out of this world? Do they need to be more practical? What is your take on that, please?
I think it's an interesting discussion because, I mean, it's very relevant and it equally applies in almost every sphere of, work, as far as I know. I mean, I have my own personal experience as well. I think the reality is that once you've lived outside for a long time and you are going back to where you thought you really, really knew it, you go back and you realize that it's not as well as you think you know it, because you have been shaped, you have been, you have also had a different exposure that basically is different from what is you are going back to. I think in this short period of time that I've been at the office of the presidency, what I realized that is lacking, what I really think we need to have in place is some sort of a program that will take people through some orientation before they make these key decisions and before they really decide on what they can go and do and how to manage their expectations. We are not saying that they should be adapting themselves so much to the, so that they can fit and, be part of that system that perhaps we eventually want to also improve on. But it really needs some bit of psychic preparation to really, go into this kind of environment that we find ourselves. I suppose, most of you would have been following recently this typical topical issue raging in Ghana regarding the architectural associations and how they are so unwelcoming as far as David Ajay is concerned, and how they do everything that is of a major thing is, being handled by Ajay, blah, 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 all sorts of. So you get this organized, should I say organized opposition, and from time to time, trying to frustrate you, trying to make you so unwelcome. And yet we all know how proverbially we talk about the Ghanaian, hospitality and how we want to welcome people back home. And the reality, when you begin to experience it, could be very, very significantly different. That is not to say you shouldn't do it, but you have to challenge yourself. You have to challenge the system and really, see how best you can work around these difficult times, these difficult issues that will be thrown at you. And like I'm saying, it's happening everywhere in government, in every sphere of work and every sphere of life in Ghana. That's when you have lived outside for so long and you are coming back, they see you as something else that you have to be able to manage. And very often I believe it's within us to rise up to the challenges, to see how we can override those. I can imagine, like example that he gave, how even going to the coffee room with the students can be a problem for some of them, but how you may have to understand why in our society. And that is the fabric of what we have built on all these years. How, you know, we relate to our subordinates or to people that are, you know, we think are below us in a certain hierarchy of organization. I suppose this thing goes way, way, way back. It's not a recent phenomenon. I mean, we can cite an example of how when the UGCC invited Kwame Nkrumah to come back home, you know, he had to sort of find how means and ways to work around them, to bypass them, to ask for, you know, what he was looking for. And that, for me, is something that we should all be looking to do in the course of trying to pursue our own objectives, our own objectives, and that objective of the overall interest of the country. That you have to find a means to work around some of these difficult, issues, and that is something that, you know, I would advise for the general public, that when you are coming back, know that it is not going to be an easy one. Ideally, we should be taking you through some orientation for you to enable how to know how to manage your expectations, for you to know how you should conduct yourself. It doesn't help in some situations when people come from the diaspora and not having really experienced so many things that they think, you know, perhaps it is a know it all, and therefore they are the ones who are going to make it all obvious to those who are back home that they didn't know that much and that they are going to set the new standards and the new ways of doing things. You have to do well to manage all that aspect of how you subtly, you know, introduce your ideas, your changes, and the attitude to that society. And that is something that, you know, I believe in the future, given the resource, well-organized orientation program should aim at doing.
That's brilliant. I think that the initiative of orientation, the sort of induction, will be very helpful, and we would be keeping in touch. If there are any developments in that, if you keep us in the know, then we can also publicize it to people we may know who are keen to come back and then to help. Because like he said, you know, it can be a big cultural shock. You may have lived there all your life as a youth, you know, but when you come back after a few years, things sometimes would have changed so drastically. Right, this is a good point to leave the floor to anybody else who has questions. Fred, did you have any questions to follow up? Otherwise, we can get anybody else.
Sure. I mean, there are two questions,
yeah,
and then there are two others that I'm sure Mr. Awababio will just laugh at them. So I start with those ones. Ghana is 30.8 million are here, but we here are yet to be counted. So that is something that I heard and I said, oh, wow. So are we really part of that? The second thing is that I don't know whether if we decide to picket at the embassy regarding ROPA, we will get a good hearing. So those are just comments on the side. Two things. The first one is accessibility. The presidency is almost synonymous to inaccessibility. So I envision that the office being there means it's a no-go area for the everyday diaspora. Somebody asked that, why don't they have an office, say, at the airport? So that is the first question in terms of accessibility. How accessible is the office for the diaspora, especially when it is situated in the presidency? The second question, which is a bit broad, relates to how we connect diaspora and other African countries, particularly with the advent of AFTA. Because I'm now looking at it this way, that if diaspora is beyond Africa, then with the integration being looked for at the moment in terms of integrating trade within Africa. How does diaspora fit in there? Because it would seem that, okay, Africa wants to now trade together, and then diaspora traditionally may mean Ghanaians, Black Americans outside Africa. So I don't know whether if AFTA has crossed the desk of Mr. Ababio. So two things, accessibility and then the link between AFTA and the diaspora. Thank you.
Should I immediately take this because I guess you've lumped in a lot and there are a few comments that I need to pass on some of the things that you've said already. So beginning with the 30.8 million people, that might possibly exclude you because you are living outside of Ghana and you were not counted. I think you are right in that respect. But bear in mind that the census that we were taking was actually not just about every Ghanaian living everywhere, but it was about Ghanaians in Ghana. And as at the census night, I think one of the key things that he said was taken into consideration is, where you were on that night and how, when they come to your household, the counting was going to be conducted. So I guess in a fair way, let's be realistic that we are looking for a very, good proximate, a guess of the numbers of Ghanaians. So in that respect, I can imagine how some people would not be counted, but every opportunity should also be made to look at them as Ghanaians, and therefore other means of reaching out to them, registering them should also be, used to know who is where. I suppose when you want to count the number of Ghanaians outside, you run straight into a problem. You have to have a cutoff point somewhere to enable you to then come to some figure of, that you can plan with, because the essential thing about these numbers is essentially to enable the government to plan its resources, for its resources utilization and distribution. And therefore, if you are asking, for instance, that as at the time of counting, one should be counting all their grandchildren, even living outside of the country, who, for various constitutional reasons, might not even be Ghanaians necessarily. Then it becomes a murky ground, and therefore, you want to sort of have a clearly demarcated area of, how you are doing your counting. And I guess that is something that was agreed on, that I believe conforms to some international standard, which has been used. But once a Ghanaian living outside and that you are keen to be noted and counted as a Ghanaian, there are several ways in which you can, make this obvious to the government and to officials of government. That is, one, registering with our embassies. Registering, a lot of Ghanaians live outside and they never, I was a victim of that myself. I never registered with the embassy in any way to let them know who I was, where I lived, because one, the normal thing that most of us would say is that when I was coming, they didn't have any hand in it. What I'm doing here, they don't have any hand in it. As to how I get on, what I do, that's none of their business. And seriously, so many of us never came on any scholarship. We came on our own. We did live here our own. We have experienced life here on our own, educated ourselves, make ourselves the expertise that, giving ourselves the expertise that we have at our own expense. And therefore we feel not obliged in any way that what we have, if anything at all, is towards the country and to our people back home that we relate on one-to-one, that we remit money to for their, subsistence and everything. And that's how it is for most people. So, but it is important and it's becoming increasingly obvious that we need to go out of that mentality and relate in a better way because of the things that we are asking for, because of the relationship that we need to manage with our homelands. For instance, we are asking for ROPA to be able to vote back in our country. While if you are going to be able to vote in Ghana and you want to be registered as a Ghanaian, then obviously you have to make yourself known to the, embassies and the consulates and the, Ghana offices that are outside of wherever you find yourself, including at some point, I believe, the NIB is going to reach out to Ghana, NIA is going to reach out to Ghanaians to also register and get a Ghana card, which is going to be the all in all for everything that you do in Ghana anyway. So these are opportunities that are coming up. These are the things that I believe would eventually enable us to also have a very good guesstimate of the people living outside. And I believe that is coming up soon. So that, for me, in a way, deals with the ROPA thing and with the, billions of people out there, millions of people out there who might not have been counted. There is certainly need to think about those people and to see how we can also manage them, not just in terms of internal resource distribution and planning purposes for what we do in Ghana, but to also know how we relate to our community living outside. I think when you use the word diaspora and for our Ghanaians and our critical role in this Pan-Africanism context, that means so much that distorts even the problems that we have to deal with. Because suddenly then we are talking about the historical African community of what we have in the Caribbean and the US and everywhere, who, we are not in any way even able to then immediately put a finger on the numbers. It's such a big number out there, and yet such a big potential that it's obvious our government is trying to court their, support and their influence in all things. And therefore, we need to also know how we can relate to them and see how going forward with our after, we will be able to, make sure that they are relevant. I believe efforts are already in place. The various Caribbean countries and outside organizations are already aware of the potential that this after provides and are knocking on the doors for participation, for recognition, and these are, seriously being considered. I mean, it's obvious that, yes, what we want to do vis-a-vis the rest of the world is to let the rest of the world know what the whole Black community means and how we can, perhaps trade among ourselves, work effectively with each other to let them also see how they should treat us, because the narration that they have had and how they want to deal with us have always been at their dictates. And therefore, we need to change that narration. We need to let them know that, yes, perhaps they should recognize that we are some force to reckon with, which is the whole basis of this. So I can see how going forward, after is going to enable the Caribbean. I remember some organizations have written to me that have been also made, that we are working on to see how their representation can be facilitated and to be recognized, and that they can also take advantage of the after going forward. Glad to say that this thing has been, office has been established in Ghana, and that we are known in Ghana for our Pan-Africanist leadership. So this is all going to bring to bear on this whole development. And I believe, the office is at the right place. The president is the right person at this stage in our, development effort. He's saying all the right things. He's encouraging all the right things to be done, and that we can provide that leadership as early as possible for this development to take place. And that we know and we are aware that the rest of the Black community and Africa in particular are looking forward for us to take that leadership role. And I believe we really would rise up to that. And not just because of what we are seeing now, but because of what we have done in the past, with how we encourage somebody like Du Bois when he was dealing with this, African, research into our, all the things that I've forgotten exactly what the research was all about. But I think Pan-Africanism in Africa, something, how we had provided that platform for him, the seat in Ghana for him to come and open that center, So equally, once we have this actor, we believe we would be doing everything we can. Recently, the president was in America dealing with some, financiers and sponsors who are looking to come in to, make sure that our Du Bois Center would even rise up to play a very significant role and work collaboratively with the Pan-Africa and with the Du Bois Research organization in America. And this collaborative and cooperation of working with other countries and other, it's in the spirit of what ACTA is looking for. And I believe we are going to pursue that vigorously going forward. And that it would, I believe, enable us to deal with this. I suppose in the respect of the accessibility, yes, a lot of people have always raised this issue, and rightly so, when they want to be able to relate to the office, when they want to have access to the government, not just government, to the diaspora, and they believe the presidency is, a no-go area. For one, immediately it starts off as being designated as security zone. Then obviously the measures that you have to go through to get to that place is not the same as perhaps going to Afrikiko or going to the ministry. So yes, I can imagine that presents some issues that is worth noting. But from the practical point of view, from seriously knowing what it is and how we have even talked about right here, about how we can be frustrated, how we can be, be made to be at the fringes of everything. For me, that opportunity of being right there provides us it gives us the opportunity to be right in there and not to be relegated to the, to the side of governance. I can tell you, even being at the office of the president, even being at the presidency, you can imagine that there are some distribution lists that you can suddenly, fail to appear on. If you are stuck somewhere away from that office, I believe at these early stages of that, development, I believe it would have been a big issue. Personally, not just because I then get to say I'm at the office of the president, but I believe then I get to be seen, I get to be heard, I get to be, taken into consideration for most of the things that we think we also equally deserve to be, But then, having said that, as we grow, as we begin to then get our foot in the ground, there's the need to have, we'll grow out of that, that area. We'll grow out of that nurturing that we have been receiving, and that we would have to then seriously be looking at how best to consolidate the beginnings that we have already enjoyed. And it's all going to come in a structured form. And I believe, we are working right now on what we call the diaspora engagement policy. That policy document has got a recommendation for some sort of entities to be in place. And I believe with these entities in place, with this funding, structure being clearly mapped out, then one would be in a position to really be as independent as possible from the consolidated, central funding that we enjoy so far, and be able to, then find a convenient place that, would give that accessibility that we are all looking for the diasporans. Having said all this, I would be the first to tell most people and those who have visited, and I believe some people even find it even offending that they come to the office very often, and I've taken pictures with them and shown them on the social media to let people know that they can come, that they feel free to, come to the office, that we have an open door, 24/7 open door policy, that people can relate to us. I believe this president, and I believe, has really turned things on its head a little bit by even making the presidency a tourism site. People come there very often knowing that they've seen White House all the time from, all places, but they don't even know their own Jubilee House. So yes, it's an opportunity to relate to us, to come to us, and it's never that difficult. I can tell you, I've always been mocking, saying that I visited my friends at MTN office, and the securities that I went through to go to MTN was nowhere near. I mean, coming to the Jubilee House was nowhere near what I went through trying to get through to MTN. So basically, that for me is, of course, a little bit side, but it's also to let people know about how to come to us. Once you tell somebody that you're coming to the Jubilee House, now the reception is a word that well-known fact that people are streaming into the office all the time, and therefore all you have to do is come to the reception and say, I'm going to the Diaspora. Right? So you are there to direct you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I guess this is a good point to get others. If anybody has a question that they haven't asked or hasn't been asked already, you want to ask, please feel free.
Yeah, I would like.
Yeah. So, thank you. Oh, okay, man, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, and I would like to quickly just endorse. I mean, Ghana Scholar Society is not into politics. We are not affiliated to any political party, and that's what we try to do. But I went to the field to do some data collection. I came back on Monday, and whilst on the field, a friend of mine said to me that, I think it was 2019, President invited all the science guys, all the scientists to come for a conference. And based on that discussion, that conference, they are setting up one of the largest 3D printing manufacturing company in Africa, which is based in, Achimota, somewhere in that.
You are breaking off.
My friend is involved, and he's invited me to join his team. And so this is just a good testament that if you are part of this society or whatever it is you want to do to support Ghana, what Mr. Awababio, I can fully endorse that some things are happening, and I've got data to prove it. And somebody is actually there who's actually confirmed that the president is really, really working out to make things happen. So thank you for all the hard work. We are ready to support you as well.
Thank you. I guess, this mentioning of this support then even adds up to the point that I've been making previously, that at these early stages in our, as we're trying to facilitate and to, push our friends from the diaspora's interests and goals and objectives, it's important for us sitting at the office of the president to even write some of the, recommendations on the letterhead of the office of the president to some of these notoriously difficult entities that you have to deal with, to let them know that, yes, we are supporting this, we want this done, we want this to be, and it does carry that extra weight at these early stages until we get our feet onto the ground. We will say in the traditional language, roots and firm, to get it firmly planted in the soil to enable it to be on its own. Yes, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I think somebody's been trying to come on, but let me hear Emmanuel first. Is it Michael?
Yeah.
Let's hear Emmanuel.
Yeah, that's Michael. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm driving. I had to jump onto driving quickly. So
no problem at all. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Awababio. I have two quick questions, and I will just put them all together. So the first one is, I know you have been doing this work for quite some time, and thank you for doing it. I want to understand what has been some of the key things that you hear from people in the diaspora, the frustrations or the challenges they do face coming back home. Because I know I have interacted with a number of people. They do want to come back, and I'm also included. There's no place like home. Every time everybody wants to come home. Not that they want to come home to change the way things are done, but to also contribute their quota. But sometimes they are greeted with a number of things that, like you mentioned, you talked about expectations and tempering your expectations and all that. But sometimes they want to understand and they want to know how feasible that their move is going to prove for them and for the community that they want to impact. So I'm sure you understand a number of the issues that they face. So I want to understand from your perspective, what do you hear? What are the common themes? And what structures are in place to dealing with such common themes that can be publicized for everyone to know that, okay, this used to be the problem, the challenges that you are likely going to be confronted with, but this is how you are going to deal with it if you decide to make the move.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Awababio, please.
These are key frustrations. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, please.
Yeah, he mentioned two key problems. I thought his question was in two parts. The first part, I've understood it to be the key frustrations. I'm going to go on that
I think he put everything together, so we'll just go with this. Yeah, Ms. Awabio, we'll go ahead with the one you picked, please.
His line is frozen now.
Mr. Awabio is frozen. Okay.
Yeah, it's frozen out.
Emmanuel, if you want to ask your question, hopefully he will still hear you. And then when you come back, we can put it all together.
Okay, once you reconnect to us, Mr. Awabio, probably I would like to know what are some of the issues that people really bring to your table when it comes to diasporans coming back home or trying to connect with you. And I also have heard from some of my colleagues or some people who returned to Ghana sometime or try to get back to Ghana. They said they were frustrated because when they come there, sometimes even you give a bit of attention, or should I say, some of you give a bit of, you are being biased towards them. As if you look at the people who come from maybe Jamaica or other places who are not Ghanaians, but they are in diaspora, they're trying to come, much attention is given to those people than Ghanaians who have lived there and decided to come back after being out for some time. I have about 2 people who said they wanted to invest in, that's the third one that I would like to talk about. I have about 2 people who wanted to come back to Ghana. They said they wanted to invest in Ghana, but they found it very difficult even to register their company and so on. The whole process is there are a whole lot of steps or bureaucratic system in a way that you find difficult to register an organization. Are you the right person to contact when it comes to issues like this? That's what I would like to know.
Okay, so thank you. I think straight away, let me deal with this investment. I think whoever must have complained about the investments and the frustrations in registering a business must have done that some time back. Now it's one of the easiest and perhaps one of the key achievements that we tout ourselves with, that in this internet age we have been able to do things also as quickly as possible via internet. So the business registration is no longer as headache as it used to be. It's no longer that big deal. I can tell you, you can register businesses in Ghana right now with ease, depending on what of course, details you are trying to get and what in the area you are trying to register to do your business. But now a lot of frustrations have been taken out. I can assure you on that. But just in case you have any doubt and you want to test the system, you come through to me and I will make sure that you go to the right places and the right people are dealing with you expeditiously as possible. So that is something that I can promise that we should be able to help you to do, because now so much of this business registration even goes online. So we are trying to, with that digitization program that this government is vigorously pursuing, a lot of these entities these government organizations are trying as much as possible to go high tech, to try to do business processing with the IT. And that is really eliminating a lot of those difficulties that people were experiencing in the past. So for instance, at DVLA, acquiring a license has been reduced drastically to just a few things to be done here and there. And just as well, business registration. And I can go on and on with some of the business processes that have been, put through this digitization process to make it easier for people to deal with. On the issue, have I lost the guy or is he still around? Because
he's still on. Michael is still on, yeah.
Okay. So now on the other key issue of frustration, as far as what my own experience is and what have I been hearing normally of people coming back home, I can tell you, yes, there's a lot of frustration going on, which is why I believe we started off with this orientation and the need to have people to know as much as possible to manage their expectations, etc. One of the key things that I know, as far as the Ghanaian diaspora coming home is concerned, is very often we can categorize the people who are coming home into we can put them into various categories. There are those who have worked to the end of their, professional life. They just want to come home. There are those who are actively on the job market. They are coming home. They want to look for a job opportunities in Ghana. And there are those who are also coming home because they want to come and engage themselves in some business or one business or the other. and that they like, in terms of opening up businesses, etc., try to get into some of these government programs areas like one district, one factory, planting for food and jobs, etc. So many of the government initiatives and the difficulties that they experience in these areas. But one major area where the youth are coming back to is, of course, in respect of coming home to find a job. I'll be very honest with you to also let you know that, yes, just like any, group of people, the number of jobs that have been available to the people who are coming back from home, from the diaspora initially, has gone to people who were politically aligned. There's no doubt about that. This government has stood on various platforms to say how proud they are that when they came into power, the diaspora community were given as many as, at some point when the president asked me for the figures that I needed to give him, we were as many as 80 people who had come from the diaspora and have been, given various roles to play in government. And that was an expectation from what those people were doing in their host countries as diasporians, as political party members who knew that their party had come to power. And just like what opportunities were going to be given to those people back home in Ghana, their expectation too was that they, as also, participants in the political process, having facilitated or helped in their government coming to power, were also looking forward to some things being given to them. And duly, the government had done that on a big scale of about 80, as I said, or rather perhaps unprecedented. No records to show that, but going by the number of people who came down to play different roles, I believe it was quite obvious that that may be unprecedented. Then there are those who, without any sort of linkages to government necessary, are looking to come on the open market for job opportunities. This is not something that we would, I would say is peculiar to those who are coming from the diaspora. The fact is, the job opportunities in the country are limited, are very few. And that coming for that sort of opportunity is not something that is going to come easily. And for those who are able to even go through it, once you end up in an organization, some of the frustrations that you go through are, there for us, for record purposes, have been there for most people to talk about, that they went here, they were frustrated, which is why, again, this whole, orientation and everything, expectation of management is concerned. But let me be very honest with us. Look, if you are coming from the diaspora, the expectation that we now have is that you should be coming home with some linkages of network of friends, of access to capital. And the whole country, as at this stage, is really urging even our graduates in the universities to think about not walking into jobs, but thinking about creating job opportunities for themselves, to see how entrepreneurship can be nurtured in the whole country. I'm not surprised that when the gentleman mentioned about this agric, course that he was going to offer the agric business, he was looking for the placement and all sorts of things to enable these people to then, also think about how they can relate to, the agric business. But the whole emphasis on entrepreneurship is something that we are doing as a major initiative. No wonder the NBSSI has been changed to Enterprise Agency to really put some emphasis on how we want people to think along those lines. And more so when you are coming from the diaspora, to see how you can use your network and your access to capital to then create that job opportunities, and not perhaps so much like coming to compete with the local guys who are already struggling to get anything here. Part of the resistance and the problems they give us is how they think we come even to take what perhaps is duly theirs, which it belongs to us as all Ghanaians anyway. But yes, this is how I believe we have to fight the system, that we can also come with some initiatives that will enable us to do some things. Look, Ashesi University has always been my classical example, knowing what I know, knowing that I've been on a few platforms with Patrick Awua and knowing what he was able to do. that he was at some point just attending a course with some of his own mates at Microsoft MBA programs, and how he had convinced that network to then come and support him to do what he has done. And now that school is a flagship, not just in Africa, not just in Ghana, but in Africa, as to what we can deliver with our experience, with our network, with our connections from the diaspora, bringing it back to bear on our development. So in respect of investment, I think
It's frozen out again.
I think Mr. Ababio's line is frozen. Okay, he's back.
Am I frozen?
No,
Yeah,
you're
we
back
can hear you
now.
now.
We can hear you now.
Yes, one of the frustrations that we also go through is how you can quickly adjust to life back here. You may be living in a country well structured, well organized in terms of transportation, in terms of basic things like schools, etc. And then you come here and you realize that the things that you want to put in place quickly, one, to accommodate yourself, two, to make sure that you have the means of getting from A to Z, is all fronted with difficulties. That can really, really frustrate you. More so when you have to either bring something that you think is going to deal with the issue, and you go through the customs issues that you have at the port. So these are areas that we have also contributed in the drawing attention of government to, and I believe the government has done perhaps as much as it can at the vis-a-vis the revenue generation that is almost driving every initiative at the port is concerned, to see how the diaspora can also bring in the things that they need. There used to be that opportunity that you were coming in with a vehicle, having lived outside for so long, you would have some exemptions, etc. But some of the abuses that have taken place over the years haven't been helpful. I believe now that we are putting that economy in a more digitized and structured, and more responsible way, we'll be able to come back to some of these initiatives. So for instance, when somebody had lived outside and he's registered outside and he's coming back home, and we can have a track record of how long he's been there, when he's coming, etc. And we are extending some privileges to them. That should be possible, rather than what used to be that you give somebody the opportunity to bring back home a car, a vehicle that he wants to use, and suddenly he's turned into a commercial businessman. He's bringing cars every year and almost, become a contractor for bringing his cars to Ghana and dealing in secondhand cars and, dealing in vehicle, dealing in vehicles already when he comes to Ghana. Some of these things, I believe, we get more organized, we can address it. Then there's the issue of schools. I know that is very, very important for those coming back with their dependents when they want to come back to Ghana, and how they would fit into these schools, and how these constant, changes that have been taking place in our schooling system is not auguring well for those who want a more stabilized economy, a more stabilized school system to really, also, enjoy. But this is all happening, and I believe sooner or later, that stability, that organization is going to be there for everybody to have that benefit of enjoying and take advantage of it. So there are issues, but the government is working, and we are working constantly to elevate these problems and make sure that people can get quickly adjusted and can also get into the system. But the bottom line that I would advise for most diasporians is that you then begin to weigh the odds against you, and also for whatever opportunities that there are here. And then you begin to realize that home is home. I tell you, there's nothing like home. Sooner or later, you realize that even when you think about it, for those of us who lived in the diaspora for so long, and all the people that we left outside, that we thought they were going through so many problems, you come home and you realize that they aren't as bad as you think they ought to have been over the period of time. And that overall, they haven't really lost out to, so many of the
I think we've lost Mr. Awababio again. Hopefully he will come back. But the plan earlier was to let him off a bit earlier to go and rest. We are aware that he's just coming today from Ghana and he's a bit tired. So later when he comes, we will be thanking him. But if somebody is got a very quick question, if you can ask in 1 minute, that he will respond to briefly before he goes. That's if we got him, we will give the chance. But for others who have been wanting to ask anything and haven't been, if you send a message in the chat, I'm sure we can make it available so we can forward it. Or even when he's gone, if you asked any such question, I'm sure he'll be listening in at the right point. He will. So is there anybody who has a very quick question that if Mr. Awababio manages to get back on, you wanted him to answer, please, before we
Okay, I would like to ask a quick one. I'm sure when some of us didn't start with us, so probably we missed out a few of the information that we needed. For some of us as well, the diaspora office is the very first time. This is the very first time we are hearing of it.
Yeah.
Did he give any summary, brief discussion or explanation of what the office actually does and how we factor into their plans?
Yeah, he did. He did at the start, and we will make the video available. I will send it to you. Hopefully we'll get your contact. So I will send it to you once the record is available. It's ready. The recorded version is ready.
That's fine.
And then I think at the very start of it, I'd rather leave you to hear his own words than me trying to paraphrase. So we will make the video available to you later for you to have a look, please.
Then I have a second question. If some of you have probably noticed from my name, I sound like a Nigerian. That's because I'm partly Nigerian. And for those of us in diaspora who have this peculiar situation where we are both Nigerians and Ghanaians, we have a big struggle anytime we have to deal with Ghanaian officials. I'm wondering whether the diaspora office is available for help in such situations, because anytime, for example, I have to renew my passport, it's a massive headache. I mean, I was in tech for many years, and by the time I was finishing tech, somebody said, "Oh, you're a Nigerian, you should be paying foreign fees," and that has been the case throughout, even up to today. Okay, my dad was a Ghanaian army officer. And while he was alive, anytime I needed a passport, I have to go through him, go to Bema Camp, get letters from Bema Camp that my father was an army officer before I get passports. Is there any way that I have a lot of friends like that, and we are here in the UK. I'm with Ghanaians, I'm with Nigerians, and I'm in both platforms all over the place. And so I have friends who are on both sides as well. And a lot of the time, our focus sometimes is divided as well, because sometimes you don't feel belonging in either side, really. What I want to know is, when it comes to the diaspora office, we want to feel like we are embraced and we are part. Whenever we have a challenge like this, whenever we are at home, is there a chance that we can pop into the office and get help?
Oh, yes, certainly. I would urge you to pop in and, have your situation addressed. I think what you have just mentioned, yes, I can imagine that some people would quickly jump to that hasty conclusion of dealing with Nigeria and therefore, be prejudiced against you in several ways. But you genuinely are a Ghanaian, and therefore, you deserve everything that a Ghanaian deserves. Look, let me tell you, you are not alone in this situation. Did you know that the president has got Nigerian kids as well? Our own president. Yeah, so, and and I don't know way you're going to treat them like, some foreigners. I believe it is how perhaps you present yourself in some situations that will lead to some of these things, For instance, the Ghanaian citizenship is derived from one of the parents or grandfather being a great grandparents being a Ghanaian. Mm-hmm. So once you fall in that, you are a Ghanaian in every respect. Okay. Of course, there's the issue of the dual citizen, which we are dealing with, which is relevant for even those of us with true normal Ghanaian parents, but haven't lived outside or haven't adopted another citizenship, dealing with the system with its complexity. But quite apart from that, nothing should be used to discriminate against you being half Nigerian, half Ghanaian. I mean, this is something that we have to wake up to. I mean, some people would joke with it. Some people would, deal with it in their own small way, use it to, settle their own personal scores here and there. But as far as our constitution allows, you are a fully blooded Ghanaian and should be helped in every respect. What my office is able to do, and I've been using this explanation to explain to people all the time, is that whereas we do not do certain specific things ourselves, we know organizations that can do those specific things and therefore would direct and ensure that the roadblocks that they have put in your place in order to give you what is due you, in order to process you as required, would be done. For instance, if it is the case of you coming and that somebody is giving you difficulties in acquiring your Ghanaian passport, we would make sure that they know that they have to do what is required and that they have to do it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
The situation is so personal to the point that my children, they are going to fight about being triple citizens because I have had to give them purely Ghanaian first name and then their surname. The issue come up because my surname is, immediately see my surname is Nigerian, so the debate doesn't come in whether you are Ghanaian. This assumption is that I'm just, I don't speak any Nigerian. I speak only Ghanaian. I speak several Ghanaian languages.
Yeah.
But hopefully my children will have a better deal, and your office will be there to help us. Thank you very much.
We are here to do this.
Thank you. Sorry. I guess it's a good time.
Just a quick follow-up there. Ms. Awababio, I'm just thinking, I mean, is this something that maybe your office will register with the Foreign Ministry? I'm thinking that if each of these main embassies take it as a conscious effort to train, like as part of staff training, for them to have that recognition, I would have said go to the extent of employing one of each of these people in the embassies, but I mean, that would be pushing it too far. Yeah. I don't know whether your office may register that with the Foreign Ministry, because I think it's a big deal.
I think let me quickly say that yes, but for COVID, we had begun a process of, in almost every office out of Ghana with the Foreign Service, that is the Foreign Affairs, embassies and consulates and missions. There is almost always somebody who has been designated a diaspora officer. And that diaspora officer is somebody who should be is the front line of dealing with these issues. Once you are in the diaspora, when you come home to Ghana, that's when we as an office, would kick in. But even before you get home and you are in the homeland, you have that relationship through the ministry, through the Foreign Office to help as much as possible. And once every year, we had begun that process of conferencing from time to time. The last one was in Kenya, where all the diaspora officers met, and we took them through that training programs to, basically enable them to know what, the roles they are playing and how they should be assisting. And, this is something that I believe with COVID a little bit, this pandemic a little bit relaxed, and with us knowing more and more how to deal with it, we can come back to, making sure that we continue in that direction to do this capacity building, to enable us to handle these issues, more efficiently. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I guess this is a good time to thank Mr. Awababio for his time. Like I said earlier, we are all aware that he's been traveling, and we are grateful that he spent the better part of the evening with us. I am very sorry for people who had questions and haven't been able to ask. I will urge you to get away, either you send it by through the chat system, or if you send it by text, anyhow to us, we can get a way to get through to him. But before we thank him, Mr. Awababio, if people listening to us today haven't been able to ask questions, they wanted to reach your office, what's the best way to get through to you? Is it the website? Is that email address?
Yeah, the website is certainly one of the places to come to. And I think there's the info desk at the Diaspora Affairs Office of the President that you can also use. I could also share my WhatsApp line number that people can also come to get in touch with us to see how best we can work together to deal with the issues that confront them.
That's very kind of you. Thank you very much. So as and when we get these details, we will put them in the chat for those who are on the call. And Mr. Awababio is the director of the Diaspora Affairs desk at the Office of the Presidency. If you type that into Google or any search engine, it should bring up their website and you will be able to keep in touch. But once again, I must apologize for going a little bit beyond what we were expecting to keep you on for. We are aware that you need to go get some rest, but we do appreciate your time. I believe that it's been worth everybody's while listening to you, and hopefully there will be some additional interactions from people listening to us later with you. But once again, thank you very much and welcome to the UK.
Thank you. And I very much want to, just as a quick one, also, say how grateful we are for giving us this platform to, say one or two things about what we do and how we can help ourselves, people in the diaspora to also relate, to Ghana. And I will also take the opportunity to recommend this Ghana Scholars Society for what you are doing and how, we can work more and more to also, do this once more in the future. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hope to be able to connect with you again. Some of you. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so for those of us already all still on the call, Mr. Awababio will be leaving us, and we have explained already that he was going to be with us for the first part. But we've still got Dr. Kweku Adams. He's the one of the organizers or the convener of the Ghanaian Scholarly Society, and that sounds very scholarly, the name in itself. Is it on purpose?
Yeah, it is absolutely on purpose. It's on purpose because, as I said before, I believe that there is science behind everything. The science behind democracy, the science behind architecture, the science behind construction, the science behind business. And for most part, we have depended on westernized theories and concepts and principles. And that's what we teach and that's what we preach. And we've done that so well. And for most of us, we are very much succeeded at it. But we've got our own country. We've got Ghana where we were born. And for most of us, we are so willing to go back and contribute. Nothing, if you heard Mr. Awababio say, if you want to come back with an idea to contribute, not to look for a job, then the system will be a bit different in terms of how you are accommodated. That's exactly what we want to do. We want to put ourselves together. We want to be able to provide training for corporate organizations that might need it, because if you look at, for example, let's take Legon, the business school, or let's say NOST business school. If you pick the faculty, I mean, the number of people in the UK that can deliver programs, top class programs, we are more than able to deliver top class programs. I've got friends in the banking industry who needs this sort of training, this sort of support. And I think we are in the very best position because we interact with industry and we interact with the theories. What is the use if you know all the theories and does not engage with practice? So that's what we're trying to do. And most people are very much welcome the idea. We are putting we've got a form that we've developed so far. We're going to collate all our profiles. I mean, the sad thing is that if you're an academic in the UK, no matter how good or brilliant you are just one person. Now, if you leave the job, it takes maximum of 3 weeks and your profile is gone, and it's gone for good, no matter how well published you are. But if we have something like that in Saudi Arabia, I've got 2 friends who are dean Saudi Arabia, and the government provides them with sponsorship. And what the government does is, once you finish your PhD, you need to publish 2 papers out of your PhD with you being the first author. Now, the Saudi government has compiled it. They've got a list of every single PhD completed by a Saudi, all of them in the Department of Education. And they use that to drive various aspects of the economic growth. We need to be able to do that. For some of us, we've managed to pay our fees. It's been a struggle to find a job. to publish, to work, to be a family member, and or maybe to be a family person and to be able to publish. But all of these ideas are there. We want to be able to contribute back. But if you're just one person, there is so much you can do. There is strength in numbers. Now, if you think of it, 80 of us on the platform, I think 83 so far, the combined experience of all of us will be more than 400 years. Let's say everyone's experience, everyone has got 5 years work experience. If we put all of that together, 5 8 is 400 years. And I'm very sure, let's take Professor Yamua's experience alone. He's got over 50 years experience. If we put all of that together, I believe there is nothing we cannot do to support. And as I said before, trying to help National Planning Development Commission, Ministry of Finance, housing construction, the road ministry, the theories are there. And I think it is time for us to contribute to support Ghana. And I believe everyone is willing, and you will see the number of people who have joined and the excitement that people are expressing going forward. So I think I would stop. And if anyone else has got any contribution about the scholarly society or the vision or the idea that we've got so far, you can contribute.
Quick one before I allow others to come in. So is this limited to just young academics, new academics, or it doesn't matter?
We are looking at early career academics, young academics, PhD students. And you'll be surprised when we started with, some people argue that we should not include PhD students. And I said, we need to include PhDs because they are the ones who end up becoming, having finished their PhDs. And thankfully, 3 or 4 of those who were PhD students are now fully fledged doctors, finish their PhDs within the time, doing some really exciting and interesting PhDs. So it's open, very much open to both PhD students, early career academics, and very much experienced ones as well.
Quick one, sorry, go ahead, somebody come in.
I was saying that I remember the initial discussion when we were meeting the whole idea. And yes, the student issue came into play, but yeah, it was right that we decided that we should add the student. But also one of the things we were thinking about at the time was that, again, with my interaction with other academics from different countries, what we realized was that while some of us struggle to publish because of the difficulties we go through and the kind of supervision we had. I remember when I did my PhD, for example, and by my second year, anytime I went to my supervisor, it was quite a bad supervision, I would say. Anytime I went to my supervisor, he said, "Look, Ken, I think at this point you know more than me, so I'm not able to help you, so find help from somewhere else." And then also, by the time I finished my preparation and I was getting to for my Viva, I thought I had given my document to my supervisor to read everything, and then he said, "Oh, go ahead." He found an examiner for me. By the time I finished my Viva and he was standing outside the door, "How did it go?" And I was like, "Oh, it's okay. Oh God, I'm so happy you passed because I never even read your thesis." So for me, adding the student was key because I was hoping that this would provide a platform for students to have their work looked by some of us if you get a chance to look at their work for them. I know some of us are very hard pressed for time, but already I can see somebody has put on the platform that, look, is anybody ready to proofread my work for me? Maybe you might not be able to do everything for the person, but maybe to have the person along the way, guide the person in one way or the other. You understand? And we are hoping that, like I see with my Indian colleagues just publish almost like every month or at least 2 or 3 times in a year. And what I realized was that there's an Indian publication group. They look at their own people's work and just publish it. And by the end of the year, he has 2 publications, 3 publications, and all of them will look by his own people who look at it and publish it, and it all counts towards his publication. Whereas I have to struggle. Every time I hand them a publication in, somebody in China on a board somewhere is reading, and the things he's arguing with me doesn't make sense at all. You understand? So for me, I'm thinking that this will help our people in the long run, even with our career progress. And I was saying that in time, when we are well established, it will not just be Ghanaian scholarly. Probably we'll look at like West African College of Surgeons. We will look at West African College of West African academicians, so that we will collate all our works together. Because with me being partly Nigerian as well, the anecdotal suggestion is that 3 out of every 5 African academics is a Nigerian. And that is a large pool of people that we could work with as we're going forward. And with that, we will be a lot more impactful. Could you imagine that all this group of people, we have our publication magazine that we work in? Can you imagine the impact our magazine, our publication group is going to be like going forward? So that is what we are also looking forward in the long term, that with time we will get there. And of course, we will be a ready pool of expertise that our countries can rely on anytime they want external view or external participation in pressing issues affecting our countries as well. So going forward, I'm thinking that this is a fantastic group that we are forming.
That's excellent. There's a question. Sorry. There's a question that I've been wanting to ask, but I'll defer that. If there's no other question, maybe Dr. Kweku Adams can answer. Why don't you go back home and then help on the ground? But let's defer that for anybody else who's got a question first, please.
If I may ask, how do I get access to the link and the network that you're talking about? Because this is the first time I'm hearing about this. And I'm fully aware of a lot of Ghanaian scholars in the UK.
Yeah, Prof. Amwako, don't worry. I will guide you just for 50 pounds. I'll share the number.
Anyway, you are welcome.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you very much. And thank you, Professor Amwako, for joining us this evening.
You're
welcome. Hopefully that would also be good news for Dr. Kweku Adams. Are there any other questions coming up, please?
I just wanted to add something just before Dr. Kweku Adams answers the question you are posing. I think in our first discussion in terms of when there were discussion in terms of the forum for the Scholarly Association, one of the things that also came up were that there were people who were also interested in terms of having to be people that will have an impact here as well in this country. So it's not only in terms of being people because, well, we are marginalized and there are marginalized people in the parliament and things like that, where the countries in which we are in also require expertise. And there was talk up there also as with regard to people in such positions. So not just like we only wanting to provide support from our home countries, but well, fortunately or unfortunately, we are also based up here and we can also impact where we are. And people were also expressing that that will be one of the forums or one of the areas that we'll also be looking to explore in terms of how because we are marginalized up here, and being marginalized, there are opportunities and there are ways that we can also make our voices heard and felt, not only in Ghana, but also up here as well. So
I think that's a very good point, really good point, because, and I see the point you make about being marginalized here and back home. So in effect, many people, not just academics, but especially academics with all the potential, do not contribute a lot to their current home countries, and sometimes, I wonder whether in the politics of where you live, whether this is the best talent and resources that are on offer leading, so that is a good point for Dr. Kweku Adams to respond to as well.
Yeah, I think when we started, we were initially thinking about dealing with challenges at home in Ghana, really, that we want to understand because most of us do know the Ghanaian system. And if you look at the research background of most of us, the work we do is based on Ghana or Africa. So when you talk about expertise in terms of business management, in terms of science, in terms of technology, artificial intelligence, most of our publications you will see is based on Africa or based on Ghana. Now, when Mr. Bill was talking, he talked about investment. And I did my PhD on FDI. I've been with GI.
Broken. You're frozen.
We lost Dr. Adams there. Okay, I'm sure he should be back in a moment, but I mean the others,
Yeah, you were asking about contribution. Why don't you be able to make a contribution back home, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I remember at some point in my frustration, I went to Legon, because I'm a pharmacist. I'm a pharmacist originally from Ghana, okay? and I'm a pharmacist here, and I'm a lecturer in pharmacy school here. Done pharmacy lecturing in a couple of universities here. So I went to Legon. Legon has established a pharmacy school recently, and then the head of the unit is also a friend, and some of my colleagues from Legon work at the university. So I went there to explore the possibility.
Right.
Again,
so can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I think my internet dropped.
Okay.
Okay. So when you think of the investment, the argument has always been that we always take what is for Ghanaians and we give it to foreigners. Now, when I was doing my data collection, this 2010, I was with Bank of Ghana for 3 weeks. One of the findings was that when President Kufuor discovered oil in commercial quantities, President Kufuor said, let's wait for Ghanaians who have got money to come and invest in this. We want this to be a Ghanaian investment thing. There was no money. They said, okay, let's go to the banking system. Banking sector, organize yourself, Ghanaian banks, bring the money. There was no money. And they said, okay, we now bring Tolo oil. There were 6 wells, and out of the 6 wells, only 1 well. And the president said, okay, if you cannot provide funding for it, then provide insurance. And I can tell you for a fact, all the insurance, all the total capital of all the insurance companies in Ghana put together could not insure 1% of the Tolo oil's equipment. So when you talk about attracting investors, now Tolo oil makes profit and it goes to shareholders back in the UK. Shareholders are based in the West. They enjoy Ghana's oil money, you know. So when you talk about investment, and I think what Mr. Awababio was talking about is really, really exciting, that they are interested in understanding what we want, how we can support, the way we can help to make things work for both Ghanaians and for those of us who are abroad. So we are looking at both Ghana and I think when we met first time, it was Aaron, I remember him very well. He said, we live here in the UK. Now, sometimes the Foreign Office want to make a decision about doing something in Africa, and they want our expertise. And there's a parliamentary select committee in the UK that needs our expertise as well. So we should both look at here in the UK and back home in Ghana. So that is where we are at the moment. And I believe within the next 2 months or so, maximum 2 months, you will see our website go up with all our profiles and everything ready. And we're going to distribute our profiles to various ministries in Ghana and make ourselves available to whoever and whichever company needs our expertise going forward.
I mean, the point that M. Kweku, sorry, I don't know M. Kweku's
Michael.
Michael, yeah.
I mean, title, forgive me if it's a big title we need to know and I don't know, I do apologize.
Oh, no, I'm ordinary.
There's nothing like ordinary anyway, but you made a very good point, you know, which Dr. Kweku Adams has tried to answer about. I mean, Dr. Adams, for example, what stops you from standing for MP where you live or where you work in the UK? You know, if you were in Ghana, you could be somewhere. I mean, I'm sure that some of your mates are, but why are Ghanaian academics well qualified and not getting into the mainstream, apart from just academics, apart from hospitals, you know, why are we not joining political parties and impacting life here so that we can make a meaningful, realistic contributions where we live, brighten the corner where you are, isn't it?
I mean, I think that's a multi-billion-dollar question. So when you think of it, if you come here as a PhD student with a scholarship, life might be a bit different or better. If you have to be a fee-paying student, by the time you finish paying out 3 years, you're worn out already.
Yeah.
And by the time you get into the game of publishing, and they begin to bombard you with, you know, 3-star before you move to senior lectureship, and 4-star before you become an associate professor, and all of that, your mindset is tuned towards becoming a good academic, you know, and let alone the pressure from Ghana, and let alone pressure from your family here, you know. So we are dealing with competing issues. And if you have to also struggle with finding your way to publication, and I mean, for example, I was there, it was I think 2 months ago, Coventry University emailed me and they said, we saw your profile, somebody recommended you, and we think you'd be a good fit for our external examiner. And guess what? The person is a Ghanaian. I've had interaction with him twice, and he's Collins. He kindly recommended that he was leaving the post. He said, the best person to do this job is Kweku. Can you? And I got an email. These are the little things that we can do to help each other. You know, for now, that is what we're looking at. For example, you are about to finish PhD, you need to get an examiner. Instead of going to get somebody who's going to fail you, there are equally qualified Ghanaians, academics in our midst who can equally examine your thesis, properly. You know, so for now, that is what we are focusing on for now. Perhaps once the team grows and we get wings, we can begin to look at how we can support each other. Those like Professor Yama, who wants to, push things forward in Kent, we can support him to stand for MP in Kent and put our weight behind him. But for now, we are moving strategically and gradually, incrementally. Yeah,
I think that's a good point, and we wish the group well. And I get the point about you learning how to walk before you start to run, but hopefully you will be running very soon. We are just about finishing. Is there anyone who hasn't said anything all evening and wants to say something? We will give the last word to you and then we will wrap up. Anybody who wants to make a contribution, either on the first part of the, go ahead, please.
Dr. Kwame, just quickly, saying something retreating, and I think goes back to what Professor Yamo also highlighted, and this related, if it could go back to Mr. Awababio in terms of, I commend the whole aspect in terms of what was the word he used for it, orientation. But it's like one of the things that I had really coming through was the frustrations that people faced. And the frustrations, were twofold. I think everyone was more than one aspect, which I think the orientation will address, which is the frustrations that we face, or people, the diasporans face when they go up there. But I also think that there's a frustration from the people back home culturally. They also back home have a frustration. And what I'll be wondering is, how would they be addressing that aspect? Because we might address the orientation with regard to our frustration, but the people back home are also will be frustrated with us. That yes, you've come taking our jobs, and the microaggressions might be coming from them, rather than thinking we coming not only to support or coming to be a part, but they also might be having the whole mindset, like examples that people were giving. People go up there in terms of how the biasness that they treat towards, let's say, other people might be totally different to how the bias that they vet towards us, which in some cases might be even quite, I think, unexpectedly, based on expectation. We find it to be much more difficult to comprehend and take, because we expect that we are people, which goes with what our brother Kenny highlighted with regard to his plight, being a Ghanaian as he sees himself. But we have, should I say, we have a discrimination in a way towards the fact that he's Nigerian. So regardless of the fact that he's Ghanaian, he would talk the language. Like I went back home, I was told, well, you smell foreign. Yeah, they could pick it up. Regardless, I was talking the language, was putting up everything, but they said, no, you are not. And hence, I was discriminated on the basis of that. And they've vetted up. So for me, it's like, yes, you treat our frustration from our point through the orientation, which will be great. How do you address that from their end, because we need both aspects to then make it bearable for us all to, get on. So I'll be quite intrigued to find out. So I think the orientation will deal with us, but what is in place to deal with those there, especially even people who are much more in the organized setup, who have the biased culture, organized, this is how we do it. You are foreign, you are coming to bring something new. So I'll be quite intrigued to find out how that bit will be addressed as well, or else you address it with us and we'll go back and the frustration will still be there, because the people there are not culturally changing and adapting to us. So people get fed up and still come up here. So yeah, so that's the way I see in terms of the twofold aspect. And I like to see that. So
yeah. Kwame, if I can chip this in.
Yeah, so I want to, go ahead, Fred, and I will.
If we can make it very brief, it's 9 o'clock.
I think that really draws my mind to a very interesting idea, that maybe strategically we should be outlining possible research teams out of these peculiar problems that nobody, and I can assure you, nobody will address them research-wise. So maybe as part of this group's remit, we have to explore things that nobody, I mean, those in Ghana will not be thinking about what we are talking about now. So those of us whose research areas stretch within these areas, I think we can pay attention to some of these particular issues and see how, I mean, those of us who get studentships, for instance, you could put in a studentship and get a PhD student to come and address some of those questions. I think that would be interesting.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
A quick one before we close. I know we are late, and I'm very sorry for being late because I was in a family meeting and I couldn't run away. Yeah, Professor Fred, I agree with you that a research will be very useful, but I am also thinking that given the important role that the diaspora can play, in fact, the transformation of countries like Israel, India, and China are actually spearheaded by the diasporan communities. So if once we have a diasporan office in the presidency, it's important for us to influence them to make the nation and policymakers in particular understand that they should not fall on the diasporans when it comes to remittance of money alone, but the expertise in terms of knowledge, skills, and all the extraordinary expertise that the diasporans have can actually be the turning point for national economic development. So to me, it's an attitude and a cultural issue, and only education on a national basis from the policymakers can help to address it. Otherwise, if people regard us as threats to their positions and threats to whatever benefits they are enjoying over there, the tendency is that we will always be regarded as threats, and the full potential of what we can send to our community back home in Ghana and maybe in other African countries will always be underexploited. So to me, we better raise this issue with the highest authorities as a national economic development issue, a socio-economic development issue that needs to be addressed through education.
That's a really very good point. Was somebody trying to come in? Was it Michael?
Yes, I was trying to come in by this time, so I will just make it brief. I wanted to say that Dr. Kweku Adams, that idea is really laudable, but I had a question and a contribution, but because of time, I just want to go ahead with the recommendation. That someone was raising concern about those back home, sometimes feeling that those here, when they are going back, are coming to take their jobs, or there's that mindset of this bias. The recommendation would be that if there is a way to collaborate with those back home, especially the academics also there, would want to learn and collaborate on research with those in the diaspora, so that doesn't look like, oh, those in the diaspora might have the feeling or the perception that theirs is more or less like superior to what they have back home. So they are just bringing everything in the diaspora and replacing what they have back home, which may look like, it might sound like, oh, you guys think of yourself as better than us and we are not going to give you the chance. So that impression sometimes when it's created also becomes a very big problem and a wall for them to also jump, because you might think that, oh, we are not going to give you the room to operate, because we also have our own way of doing things, we have our own traditions, we have our culture, and don't come and supplant our culture with your culture or the big things that we have learned. So that's another topic for maybe future discussions, but that perception also is what sometimes brings about this friction between those back home and the diaspora mindset as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Michael. Really good point. And I'm sure that Dr. Kweku Adams will take that on board, the point about collaborating with people back home. But this is a good time to thank everybody for your time, in particular, Mr. Akwasi Awua-Ababio. He's a director of the Diaspora Affairs desk at the Presidency. And he has very generously offered to keep in touch with anybody who is willing to be involved in any initiative back home, that if you go through their office, he'll be more than willing to be of help. And Dr. Kweku Adams, he's a convener of the Ghana Scholarly Society. It is UK-based, but I believe that it is open to Ghanaian academics everywhere. And they've got brilliant, ideas, a vision of bringing academics together to network for the betterment of the academics and then Ghana as a whole. And to everybody who has been with us this evening, if you're in the US like Michael, it's your afternoon, for spending a little more than 2 hours in some cases with us. We appreciate it, and especially at the start when we had teething problems with technology. Hopefully next time will be different. I'm thinking that this discussion will not end tonight, but hopefully we can give another opportunity to get more people to come on and share their experiences, and then for us to get some more solutions. Same time next week, we will bring you another program. But until then, thank you very much for your time. Have a great week. God bless you and take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.